flavor, Prime Energy Dream Pop, the flavor that'll make you cream in your dream.
About $50,000 in cryptos.
I lost $40,000.
And I lost around 15,000 US dollars.
I lost $25,000.
$120,000.
$500,000 Australian, which is $500,000.
Back in 2023, Prime was absolutely everywhere. Over $1.2 billion in sales, wiped clean from supermarket shelves, and parents arguing in aisles like it was Black Friday on steroids. UFC deals, WWE tie-ins, Barcelona sponsorships. It really looked like Logan Paul and KSI had cooked up the next Gatorade moment. But fast forward just a couple of years later, and the whole thing flipped hard. Sales didn't just dip, they collapsed by over 90%. Bottles started collecting dust, getting shoved into discount bins for under $1, and suddenly this so-called billion-dollar drink was being dragged as a straight-up flop. Scandals, lawsuits, health questions, and pure greed all piled up at once, and Prime couldn't dodge the smoke. What started as hype turned into hesitation almost overnight. When Prime launched in January 2022, it was a full-blown cultural takeover. Two former boxing rivals, Logan Paul and KSI, teamed up and sold the internet a dream. People were calling it the second coming of Gatorade, and Logan's announcement video alone pulled over 8 million views instantly. Kids were waking up before sunrise to stand outside corner stores. Resellers were flipping bottles for hundreds, even thousands, and Prime became the supreme of sports drinks. Every restock sold out in minutes. Shops had to bring in security. Grown adults were losing their cool, and the demand hit levels nobody expected. By the end of year one, Prime had already cleared $250 million. 1 year later, that number exploded to $1.2 billion, making it one of the fastest growing drinks ever seen. This wasn't just another YouTuber product or random energy drink. Prime became the biggest creator brand in history, but the rise was so fast that nobody noticed the cracks forming underneath. Right at Prime's peak, Logan Paul's past came back swinging like a jump scare. CoffeeZilla dropped a brutal 3-part investigation exposing Crypto Zoo. Logan's NFT project promised big money and delivered nothing. People came forward saying, "I lost $25,000, $120,000, and even 500,000 Australian dollars, which is $500,000.
This morning, New York Senator Chuck Schumer is calling on the FDA to investigate the energy drink Prime, which he says is being marketed to children and contains the caffeine equivalent of 6 cans of Coca-Cola.
The investigation laid out missing developers, shady middlemen, and fans losing life-changing money. Logan had spent years rebuilding his image after the Japan forest controversy, and within weeks, that progress evaporated again. Instead of owning it, he sued CoffeeZilla, because apparently nothing says "I'm innocent" like throwing lawyers at a YouTuber. Even after the Crypto Zoo lawsuit got dismissed, the damage was already done. Parents weren't just checking hydration labels anymore. They were Googling, "Who is Logan Paul? And is he a scammer?" That's a terrible position to be in when your product is heavily marketed toward young audiences. And just when it looked like Logan was the only one spiraling, Prime got hit from an even more dangerous angle. And that's where things really started to unravel. Then things got real serious, real fast. A major political figure, Chuck Schumer, stepped in and publicly called for an FDA investigation into Prime Energy. His issue was simple but loud. One can had around 250 milligrams of caffeine, while the branding was clearly pulling in younger audiences. To put that in perspective, Coca-Cola sits around 34 milligrams, Red Bull is about 80, and even Prime Energy's own label was hovering near 200 plus milligrams, which is way heavier than it sounds. And yet, the marketing didn't match that intensity at all. Prime ads were stacked with influencers, gamers, viral clips, and youth-focused hype. Basically everyone except actual grown adults. Schumer accused the brand of misleading health claims, influencer-driven marketing aimed at kids, and not being clear enough about caffeine risks. That was enough to send parents, teachers, and schools into panic mode. Prime went from trending to treated like contraband overnight.
Lunchly versus Lunchables.
With Lunchly, you get double the amount of liquid.
Prime has no sugar added, more electrolytes, and more B vitamins.
Crunch Bar.
Whoa.
Feastables Crunch.
Yeah!
Our pizza uses real cheese. Theirs, as it says on their box, is mozzarella pasteurized prepared cheese product. They can't even call it real cheese. We're also 30 less calories, 3 less grams of fat, and 8 less grams of sugar.
Schools started distancing themselves fast, and parents were side-eyeing every bottle. Even the non-caffeinated Prime hydration didn't escape the heat. Nutrition experts pointed out it was being pushed like an elite sports drink used by top athletes, but the formula told a different story. When people actually broke it down, it looked more like flavored coconut water dressed up with heavy marketing. Even taste became part of the jokes. Reviews went viral, with people saying it tasted off or overly perfumed, and the internet ran with it. The same bottle that once resold for $100 suddenly couldn't move for $2. The hype evaporated like it was never real. Once the health concerns hit mainstream news, schools started banning Prime outright. Australian schools said no. British schools followed. Even schools across the US stepped in. Teachers didn't want students showing up to class wired, jittery, and unable to focus because they downed an energy drink before math. That image alone was enough to shut doors everywhere. Prime went from being the cool drink to the drink that could get you sent to the office. In a rushed attempt to clean up the brand's image, Logan Paul and KSI teamed up with Mr. Beast to launch Lunchly. The kits included a small meal, a Feastables chocolate bar, and a Prime drink. Pure brand stacking. But the backlash hit instantly. Dan TDM called it out, accusing them of exploiting young audiences for profit, and his post blew up within hours. Then Dr. Mike dropped a breakdown, explaining that a Lunchly meal only had about 230 calories, while a typical child's lunch should be closer to 625 calories for proper energy. To hit that number, someone would need multiple kits, which raised new concerns about sodium and balance. Instead of fixing the problem, it just added another layer to the controversy, and Prime's reputation kept sliding downhill fast. They were shipping Lunchly meals straight to kids, and this was supposed to be the big comeback moment. The rollout was meant to fix Logan Paul and KSI's image and prove they were serious, locked-in businessmen. Instead, it turned into one of the worst PR disasters of the year, and the timing couldn't have been worse. Prime was already losing steam on its own. Not because of one single headline, but because trends move fast and young audiences move even faster. What's hot one minute is old news the next, and Prime was already slipping out of rotation. Then Lunchly flopped hard, and suddenly all three names tied to it were catching jokes online. Now it wasn't just one shaky brand. It looked like two failed businesses back to back. The internet stopped taking them seriously, and the narrative flipped fast. By 2024, the drama went from bad press to legal territory. A class action lawsuit dropped, claiming that Prime's grape flavor allegedly contained over 3 times the recommended limit of certain industrial chemicals often discussed in long-term health studies. That headline alone sent shockwaves everywhere. Parents panicked, stores yanked bottles off shelves, and the news cycle went wild. The sales drop after that was brutal.
How many calories come from Feastables versus the food component?
However, Dr. Mike does give Lunchly some wins.
What I was able to conclude, Lunchly has less sugar and therefore less calories, slightly less sodium and saturated fat, does use real cheese.
In the UK, sales reportedly fell around 70% year over year. Revenue slid from about $12 million to $3.3 million, and overall profits dropped nearly 92%. In the US, sales were down roughly 40% in the first half of 2024. By 2025, Prime wasn't selling out. It was being cleared out. Stores were dumping bottles for under $1. Discount racks, clearance bins, dollar stores. Prime ended up in the please take this section. And honestly, when you look back, a lot of people never loved the drink itself. It wasn't about taste, it was about hype. Kids bought it because everyone else had it. It was manufactured buzz, not loyalty. And once that buzz dies, so does the product. Just think about fidget spinners. They were everywhere at one point, but nobody's lining up for those now. And just when it seemed like Logan's past controversies were bad enough, KSI's name got pulled into crypto drama too. CoffeeZilla dropped another investigation, this time focused on KSI. The report claimed KSI promoted a crypto project, told fans he was holding, and then quickly sold off around $150,000 worth after hyping it online. Wallet activity showed heavy selling right after those tweets, and fans felt played. KSI's clean, trustworthy image cracked overnight. Suddenly, both founders of Prime were being talked about in the same sentence, and not in a good way. At that point, Prime didn't look like a fallen drink brand anymore. It looked like the side effect of hype culture meeting bad decisions. and the internet was done giving passes.
Okay, so these ones are supposed to be good until December, and we just got them from the store. It says used by December 8th, 2024, and today's date is October 16th. So these are supposed to be good for like another 2 months. This is molded. That's mold. This is not safe, especially like kids that are so young. They may not know what mold looks like, so they might just eat it.
Selling a drink heavily tied to young audiences while flexing multi-billion-dollar brand deals was always a risky move. It didn't even matter that the crypto messes weren't directly connected to Prime itself. Public trust is everything, and by this point, Logan Paul and JJ had burned through most of it. And just when it seemed like the noise couldn't get louder, things got way worse. This time, the trouble didn't come from critics or creators. It came from inside Prime's own supply chain. In late 2024, one of Prime's manufacturing partners filed a lawsuit accusing the company of unpaid bills, misleading business practices, and breaking major purchase promises. That's when Refresco stepped in, one of the biggest beverage bottlers on the planet. Refresco sued Prime's parent company for roughly $68 million, claiming Prime walked away from a massive 3-year bottling agreement. According to the lawsuit, Prime had promised to purchase at least 18.5 million cases per year, pushing Refresco to invest heavily in custom equipment and special production lines just for Prime's bottles. In simple terms, Prime allegedly told them, "We're huge, get ready," and Refresco did exactly that. Then the hype cooled, demand dropped, and Prime reportedly failed to follow through on the contract.
Prime's getting sued like crazy. The Prime bottles, they sponsor Kevin Durant, the basketball player. And because Kevin Durant is on the Olympic basketball team, the NBA guys actually go to the Olympics.
Yeah, right.
So they thought, okay.
The bottler was left holding millions in unused equipment, sunk costs, and empty production capacity. A brutal situation. And Refresco wasn't alone. Reports surfaced that other vendors and suppliers were also chasing unpaid money as Prime's growth stalled and cash flow tightened. What once looked like unstoppable momentum suddenly felt shaky behind the scenes. But the most embarrassing moment came on a global stage. In July 2024, the U.S. Olympic and Paralympic Committee sued Prime Hydration for trademark infringement. The lawsuit accused Prime of using protected terms like Olympic, Olympian, Team USA, and going for gold during a Kevin Durant collaboration and online promotions, all without permission. The claim was clear.
We paid sponsorship money to Kevin Durant, and he's on the Olympic team. So now we're going to put out Prime bottles with Kevin Durant and all the Olympic rings and everything. And the International Olympic Committee is suing Prime because, like, whoa, you've got your bottles with our Olympic logos. Like, that's super not okay.
Prime allegedly tried to ride the Olympics wave and make it seem like they were an official Team USA drink when they absolutely were not.
Because the Olympics, they need a ton of money for all the uniforms and everything. And it all comes from, you gotta pay to put the Olympic logos on stuff. And Prime paid Kevin Durant. Prime did not pay the Olympics. So their exposure in that lawsuit is pretty major.
That kind of branding confusion is serious, especially when official sponsors had paid massive money for exclusivity. The lawsuit argued Prime was borrowing Olympic credibility for free, stepping into territory reserved for licensed partners and blurring the line for customers. At that point, the damage wasn't just about sales. It was about reputation, credibility, and legal exposure. By the end of it all, Prime didn't start collapsing simply because the hype faded. It buckled under broken trust, legal pressure, and business decisions that caught up fast. That definitely played a role. But let's be real, Prime didn't just fall apart on its own. Logan Paul and KSI straight up sabotaged their own brand. They had everything lined up for a long-term empire, but instead they confused customers, burned trust, and kept stacking controversy on top of controversy. Between government scrutiny, marketing choices that raised serious concerns, messy partnerships, failed brand experiments like the Lunchly rollout, and nonstop crypto drama, the image kept cracking. On top of that, every time accountability was expected, it got dodged. That combo is deadly for any global brand, no matter how loud the hype is. Prime could have been a 10-year success story. Instead, it turned into one of the fastest brand downfalls ever. a massive empire undone by ego, shortcuts, and bad decisions from the very people who built it. They didn't just hurt the product, they proved you can't build something real on hype alone. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a comment and let me know your thoughts. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the BeyondFame channel, and share this with someone who remembers the Prime hype. Appreciate you for watching. See you in the next one.